Hey guys, welcome back. This is our fourth episode of 20 Years Later by Charlie Donley, and we are going to be discussing chapters 53 to the end of the book. And I didn't think we'd have a lot to uncover here, but holy moly. What do you guys think about all that? There was so much.
So all I have to say is, to some extent, all four of our predictions were correct.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a lot that we predicted and a lot that I was like, oh wow.
I was a little sad that I did get to be like, ha, I told you were wrong. Because to some extent, all
All
four
of
of
us
us
had
were
something
right.
right.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so funny because, and as you making notes about that, I was like, oh, Katie was right. Oh, Kayla was right. Oh, Erica called this one. And it was funny because if each of us had just read the book on our own, we only would have got like what we thought about it. But the fact that everybody read it together and everybody thought something and it all came true, I thought that was so cool.
And I think that since we broke it down like we did, there was so much that we were like, oh, like so many thoughts that we had over it
and more time to think about it too.
Yeah. So lots of theories that were presented and were correct, I guess. So
Some very unexpected predictions.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I thought were so.
We were like, no, that is
there's
so off
there's
the
no
wall.
way.
You're like, that you're way off track.
Yeah. Okay, Katie.
No.
I'm sorry,
under the bus.
Katie, I was wrong.
Well, chapter 53 starts off with Avery going back to Natalie Radcliffe's apartment. And if you don't remember, Natalie Radcliffe was Victoria's best friend, and she's the author who used to be an emergency room physician and retired, I guess, quit her job and became a full-time author. So this part of the book I was getting excited about because I was like, oh yeah, Avery's going back. She already knows that Natalie is a fake, that she, has been writing these novels, but they're actually Victoria's manuscripts. And I was like, okay, she's going to accuse her. She's going to bring it up and we're going to figure it out right here. And did we?
Right here, right now.
No.
Not exactly.
Natalie tells her a point-by-point overview of their friendship so they met as college freshmen. And I guess she had made like a timeline. That's what Avery had requested from her. And then Avery was like, so I read that when you get to the end of each manuscript, you head to Greece for a month. And I'm like, oh, well, now we know if my theory is correct, where Victoria really is, right? Mm-hmm. And was she there? We don't know. So I guess her little talk kind of caught Natalie off guard, though. And she just kind of kept attacking her. I felt like she wasn't holding back any of her suspicion, and Natalie just kind of let her attack her.
Well, she was kind of trying to play it off like, oh, I'm just curious about it, no big deal. And
It was so
it was like passive aggressive.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. It was passive aggressive.
But she totally called her out.
Yeah.
Well, and
Totally.
the questions they asked were questions that not one person would be able to find online either.
Yeah.
Like, you had to do some digging to figure this out.
I agree with that. She'd even ask her, maybe your muse is there.
Yes, I highlighted that. I was like,
Yeah, Avery asked in an offhanded way. I was like, how could you hold it together at that point? Like all that scrutiny that she was putting on you. But then she said, did you know that the medical examiner identified Victoria from a single tooth? And I was like, here we go, we're getting there.
So I wondered, did Natalie plant it after the fact? Because, I think we talked last week about like maybe it actually wasn't when she was there. Maybe somebody went back. I don't know if it's possible, but what if after the fact Victoria lost a tooth and they ran back and put it in the debris because they were just scooping debris?
tossed it in?
I don't know.
I had thought about that too. And
Like what? She just extracted a tooth?
I don't know. But you know what? We'll never know because they never... They never tell you.
But also in this book, I think we realized anything is possible.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't discount it.
Charlie, you're going to have to answer our questions.
We should
after.
email him and say, where did the tooth come from?
We have questions.
Where's Jasper?
Yes. Thank you. We talk about that at the end, but I am still like, where is Jasper?
Where are you, Jasper? All right, so let's see. Where are we at now? So
Now Avery is in the car on her way to Lake Placid. So, Kristen, we finally got your answer of what does 777 mean?
Yes.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about 777?
Yeah, we can. So it ended up not being an area code, not being code, all the things I thought it could be. It was actually part of an address.
It wasn't
and
7
was-
creamers, 7 sugars,
That was
7
what I
shots
did
of
too. Her obsession
espresso.
with coffee orders, right? No, but it was the house that they used to go to, and it was like kind of an extended family member, and they would go visit there, and it was like a kind of little cabin. Like I pictured it just this cute little house kind of tucked away up on a hill, and that's actually where her dad has been in hiding.
So,
I can't believe that he was so close.
Yes, like
For so
literally
long.
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
Like he is
And
so
nothing.
close.
And I'm sorry, but the FBI couldn't track down this like through the family line.
Right, like explore the network and where they've been in the past and who they knew. I don't.
yeah, I guess that would be the only thing because I was like, well, it was like a family member that was very extended. It
Yeah.
was the aunt of an in-law or something.
well,
Yeah, it was kind of
It
removed.
was his. What I thought he said it was his wife's sister-in-law's aunt that passed away that gave it to her daughter.
Yeah, but it was like an in-law to him.
Yeah.
In-law. It wasn't like
No blood.
there was no
direct
yeah.
relation.
But so my thought was like maybe they wouldn't have found it in a family history or whatever. But if they went every year, I'm sure there would be some type of trail on that. Or,
Right, because they used that cabin as like a end of the summer after they'd come back from their time with Connie at her
Yep.
boating place. So, they followed her all these years everywhere else. How come they couldn't track that she had gone there so many years?
yeah, I was kind of confused about that too.
But now we know it's 777 Stony
Yep.
Brook Circle, Lake Placid, New York.
Were you guys kind of surprised when she got there and she didn't pull into the driveway?
Yeah, I was, because she was so determined to go. But
And
then
figure
like,
out.
oh, hey, I just want to know he's there. I don't care about anything else.
I think from her holding back though, it shows that she hasn't had contact, and like what she has told the FBI is the truth of everything, because she didn't go knock on that door. Like they talk about it, but she didn't get out of her car, go see who that is in the window as she is passing by or stops at that driveway
she
to
just
pull
stopped
in.
and sat there.
I think it was more for her to confirm that he was there, because I think it played into her overall plan
Yeah.
that
Her
we
game
still don't
plan.
know yet.
Well,
But I
and she
think
even
wanted to
said like
confirm it.
the rest she could only hope would work. So I was kind of like, what is she planning?
And
like,
I put that in there. That was my question.
yeah. Because didn't one of you say that you thought she was making the passport for herself?
I did.
Yeah,
That was one of my afterthoughts. Like maybe she was making this passport for herself. But at this point, it seemed so obvious that it was for her dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is the path that they were trying to lead us down.
right. Because I don't know if it was this chapter or right after it, they were also talking about her meeting with the German man again.
That's the next chapter.
Yeah, so like how that led into it, I really thought that was still the plan. She's getting the passport for her dad. She's getting it. She needs to make sure he's there so she can get the passport to him. Like I was still completely on board that Amy
Yes.
was helping dad.
I didn't think so at that point. I was questioning, like, if she's not talking to him,
Well,
then
she probably doesn't want any
Trail.
evidence
Yeah,
or trail
plausible
of her talking to her
deniability.
dad.
She can't. But she didn't come from me. I
That's
never even
true.
saw him.
yeah.
So, Kristen, at the end of this chapter, we find out that Walt followed her
Yep.
to
Yes,
Lake
he did.
Placid. And
Oh.
my first thought right there was,
You idiot.
no, this is going to break her heart. And now they're not going to fall in love.
No, I spoke that into existence. They were going to follow.
I was genuinely really sad because I kind of thought when he decided not to bug her room that he was just going to kind of not do it anymore.
Well, what I thought too when he followed her up, and I was like, oh, he's still on surveillance. Like, that's what he had done earlier in his career. It's like he just fell back into his old routine of this is the person he's supposed to be getting information from. He's going to be surveying her. So, but I did feel a little, not that they weren't going to fall in love, but just that
Sad.
is she going to lose trust in him because she realizes what he's doing?
Oh, yeah. I thought he had totally ruined all of his chances
Yeah,
whenever he was still
especially the
following.
next
I was like,
chapter,
gosh,
too. I
darn
know.
it.
Well, and then in chapter 55, there was this whole runaround.
Yes.
I
was
I
so
liked that,
nervous.
though.
And
I
I
thought
was-
that was really cool.
I was so on the fence. Like, is he really like pulling her leg? Is something happening? Because she had this reservation of like, should I just back out now? And then when, they go to the reflecting pool at the Trade Center, I was like, oh, well, she could always chalk this up to she was looking for Victoria's name because this is the case she's looking into. Like, I felt like at first there was
I thought that too.
places that she could use as an excuse, but then the more places he led her, it kind of just went astray. And they ended up going to like 2 or 3 different places before they ended up at.
So she was like,
4.
She started out on the train, and then she went to the reflecting pool and
The food truck.
The food truck.
Yep. It was
Yes.
fun.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, the
whole
food
thing.
truck, and then the church. The
church.
church was where she met him at.
And
Yes.
then he's like, you're being followed.
Yeah.
she's
And I
like,
said, yep,
"What?"
it's Walt.
And then I just wrote, when it said Avery saw that each was a still photo of Walt Jenkins, and I just wrote heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine how
sad face.
sad and probably dirty she felt? Because my first thought was, well, he only slept with me to get information.
Yeah. I thought that too. I was like, she's probably like either really mad or really sad or maybe both. And I was curious how that was going to turn for Walt, if it was going to become, like if there was going to be like a knockdown drag out fight between the two of them.
Right.
But
Well, and then, then it leads into the next chapter where
the
Before we
last
do,
chapter,
yeah.
you find out the name on the passport.
oh yeah, that's right.
Did anybody else pay attention to the spelling of Aaron?
No.
So I immediately was like, oh, it's Aaron. So it has to be
a boy.
a boy. It's not Erin.
Oh, yeah, that it couldn't be for her. That didn't even
Yes.
cross my mind.
It did cross mine, but I was just like, oh, okay, so her dad's new name is Aaron.
Aaron.
Holland.
So
what I
then I
thought,
started
too.
going through. I was like, it has to be a male somewhere.
Yeah.
And at this point, I didn't know who yet.
But you
Just
had already
assumed
made
it
a
was her
prediction
dad.
on it.
Yeah.
So, and we shot you down.
Shots fired quickly.
I wrote down at the beginning of chapter 56 that this is about to get juicy.
Yeah, so she's clearly like really upset and, heartbroken and angry and in disbelief that Walt was following her. And she almost seems like, I can't believe that I genuinely thought that the FBI wasn't still trailing me and wasn't watching every move I made. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
And then she hears a knock on the door. And of course, she probably thinks it's Walt because she just got home. And obviously, he's been following her. And it ended up being Natalie.
Which I was really surprised because I
Yes.
didn't see that
Yes.
coming.
Nope.
Me neither.
Yeah, I totally thought that was Walt coming in there. So, and she said, "You can't do what you're about to do."
Yep.
And I was like, "Yes, finally, we're gonna get some answers on what the story was with Victoria." So let's go. I guess we're on page 339, which it's probably not going to match up with you Kindle readers, but Natalie told Avery, "You think you know the whole story, but you don't." And she said, "Oh, I'm sure I don't know the half of it, but I'm pretty sure I figured out the most important part. Victoria is not dead, is she?"
So a little.
I wrote Kayla right.
Yeah. So obviously, this proved part of Kayla's theory. But my question is, now that I'm thinking about it, when she said you don't know the whole story, but the only part that she tries to confirm is that she's still alive. My question is, at this point, now I'm not going to talk about it, but do you think that she knew what we find out at the end already? Like, do you think she knew the truth?
No, I
No.
don't think she did. So my thing here, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but she never fully came out and said the words, "She's still alive."
Right.
Ever. Like through this whole chapter, she never said, "Yes, you're right. Yes, she's alive." She just said she did the only thing she could do to survive. She disappeared, which is telling her basically, but like if somebody was recording that conversation, she never came out and said that she was alive. She just said she disappeared because there was no other way, not because she was guilty.
So you think that Victoria never told Natalie the whole truth?
No, I don't think she did. I
Okay.
think she just was like probably, your best friend wants to believe the best in you. And she kind of said at the beginning of the book, Natalie had said she didn't really get into the conversations with her, just, that things were kind of crazy.
Well, and then now that I think about it, she did say in this chapter, like,
she said she wasn't guilty.
She was going to go to jail for a crime she didn't commit. So, yeah, you're right. There's no way she could have known.
So the other part I got towards the end of this chapter was when she said that, no, Emma has no idea.
Yeah, I wrote that down, too.
I was kind of surprised by that, too. I mean, not surprised in the fact that I really thought that Emma was totally convinced that Victoria was dead. But at the same time, I was surprised that after all these years, Victoria hadn't reached out to her, hadn't let her know, like...
Or Natalie hadn't told her.
Yes, that's what I was kind of surprised of that, because that seems like a really big secret. Not that people can't keep big secrets, but I felt like all this time and it didn't come up once, or you didn't want to reach out. I don't know.
I honestly did not see it going the way it did, though, that how like Natalie was able to get her out of the country
because her husband like works
all the money from his family.
All those little breadcrumbs that were
Charlie
laid
gave
out.
It all to us, and we just had to the puzzle pieces, and that we talked about
just fitting together. It was just I was like, oh, cruise line. Oh, that's how they got her out of the country.
So when she says this is how it happened, and she goes, okay, well then I need your help because I need to get someone out.
Light bulb.
And again, I'm still thinking. It's her dad.
It has to be her dad. That's who she's doing all of this for.
So, Katie, did you question at that point whether it was your theory of it being Christopher?
No, not at this point. I knew it was a male, so I was just trying to run down like all the male lead characters at this, not even lead characters, all the male characters at this point that have been mentioned. But at this point, all I knew was a male.
Yeah. I was just like, it's the dad. It's the dad. It's got to be
I was
the
leaning
dad.
more towards the dad at this point. It's not until further in to this discussion when the light bulb went off.
I highlighted
and then I screamed
that Avery saw a look of confusion come over Natalie's face as the 20-year-old secret was laid before her. And I thought something was weird about that statement. And I was like, is Avery still missing something? Because she said Natalie looked confused. So, I don't know. Did you guys think anything about that?
I did kind of think it was weird, but it didn't really
It wasn't something that made you stop and think on?
No, and it didn't really lead to anything anyway.
Gotcha.
So, I did have questions, though, at the very beginning of chapter 57, and it's talking about the hikers. My first thought was, here's Jasper. Like two people. I did. I go, there's two people hiking. Why are they hiking? Yes, it was boating knots, but they were also assumed that it was a hiking knot.
Yes.
Right.
So my first thought was, I didn't okay, whoever's hiking, this is who did it. And
so
then it
that's
ends
funny
up.
because I went a different way. I wrote down and I said, OMG, if these are more new characters. I was like, guys, we've got everybody.
They didn't never
we need.
name them, did they?
No.
I think
or
at
did
the
they name
end,
them with the
and
judge?
the last
Whenever
chapter,
the judge.
Yeah, I think it was like officer or detective or whoever so and so. I think they came up at the end, but yeah, I was just like, I'm just a man and woman, and now I'm supposed to keep track of these people. It was done.
You're like, I don't have any more room on my character
And
list.
I think that was part of this chapter was to mislead
make
at the
you
beginning.
wonder.
Yeah.
Which they just ended up being officers or FBI agents.
Yeah,
that
two
are
agents.
doing recon on the cabin so that they could get proof to get a warrant that Garth Montgomery was in this house.
And then we get to chapter 58, and I thought, oh God, Avery's going to let him have it. Because Walt showed up, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And she honestly was not very mad.
She did keep her calm.
Yeah. And I think it was because she just had this end game, this plan that she knew she had to get done. And she was like, well, I can either be mad at him for maybe throwing some kind of hitch into my plan, or I can maybe use our relationship and get what I need to get done. So, and that's
kind
when
of use him.
Yeah, she's like, I need your help.
Yeah, he was a part of her plan now.
But then she says, I need your help. And
with
he's
my
like,
father.
what? My father. So this could go two ways here.
Yeah.
This could go in the theory that, the father is who she's trying to get out, or it could go with one of my theories.
To turn him in.
Yeah,
and,
that was my question.
And have him help her.
Yeah, I wrote, here we go.
Because I think I had said in a previous episode that I thought, either he was going to help her catch her dad, or,
Did you say that you thought that she was going to use that? I don't remember how you had said that when you said that he was going to help her catch her dad. Was there a reason why you said that, or was it just to get him turned in?
It was more of just their relationship forming. The fact that a relationship was forming, I thought like, okay, he's an FBI agent and she's an investigative journalist who really cares about her career. And I had just thought like, well, if she's trying to use this Victoria Ford story to further her career and get more money, then maybe she does want to turn her father in and, use this ex-FBI agent to help her.
Well, that finished. We got to the last part, right?
The long game.
game,
and that is a damn long game.
Yeah, it is. I was kind of surprised when she dropped that package off at the FedEx and it was going to Connie. Were you guys?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
See, it confused
I was like, why?
me because I'm like, okay, this has to like just be a clue in the part of the plan to get her dad out. Were my thoughts
Like
okay,
to get him out in the open?
No,
No,
to get him out of the country. Like,
See, because I was like, Connie has to hate this man. He ruined her life, almost tanked her business. Like she gave him $2 million. Why in the world would she help him get out of the country? Like, why? I mean, I'm sure that their families were really close, but
and I didn't even think that.
someone
I
who
just thought,
scorned
like,
her
oh,
that
hey.
badly.
Yeah, I was totally with Erica on that one.
I thought that like that was going to drag him out into the open, like because Connie would be like, "F this, I ain't helping this guy," and then
I should have thought of that. I guess I did.
Well, my question is why would it go to Sister Bay, Wisconsin, when she just confirmed he's in New York?
Yeah,
because I thought somehow
I
he was
thought
going
they
to
were
get
going to
there.
go to Wisconsin and then go somewhere else.
but then it has in parentheses underneath the address that's going to cabin 12.
number 12, which is her like cabin that she would go to when they would visit
Yeah, so
throughout the summer programs,
I thought it
or
was
when
just
they
to,
were
like,
at
make it look
instructors.
not as obvious. Like it's going to get to her dad, but it can't go right to her dad. It has to go around and get to him through somebody else or from some other way.
Yeah,
Like
that's kinda what I was thinking,
totally
too.
good with that.
Well, and then they threw us for another loop in chapter 60.
Megan Cobb,
I was like,
a
I
character we
did
thought
not
we wouldn't
expect
see
that.
again.
I did not.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like, how is Megan getting involved in this story now? Like, I thought for sure
Every character was included.
done. Yeah, every character came back around at this point, or is coming back around.
well,
at this
except for
point.
Cameron because he's dead.
Well, yeah, except for Cameron and Jasper.
I know.
So Megan is
Jasper.
now getting involved in this chapter, and we are about to find out what Walt is going to ask from her. But I thought it was cute how she was like,
I'm happy for
I like
you.
this version of Walt Jenkins.
Yeah, I feel like they had closure too after all
Yes.
the years and everything going on. I was happy for them.
Well,
Yeah.
and how he said he didn't have that resentment or those feelings or anything like that when he saw her. I was like, oh, that's because you love
'cause
Avery.
you're in love with Avery. I know.
Thank God. Thank God Kristen's theory is coming.
Yes. It's like they really needed each other too. Just quick little side note that I wanted to make. Like Avery and Walt each needed each other for what they were going through and what they were dealing with. And
I really liked, I know that there's been chapters like this throughout the book, but I really liked how short they were and to the point. And it was just like, I could not stop reading this. This last part was just like nail biting.
Yeah.
What's happening? Where is...
you can't stop. Like there's no good place
There
to
was
take
no
a break.
good place to stop. I stopped to make lunch the day that I finished reading this, and I was like powering through lunch, like trying to get everything put together and made real quick. And I was like, I told Jared I would make him lunch, and I was trying to get it together. And I was like, I got to get back to this book and figure out what happened because I have to know the end. Like I have to know the end of this book. So chapter 61 is when
She calls her dad.
she calls her dad, and this is the first time she's spoken to him in 3 years, right? Wasn't that 3 years since he
I
had
think
been
so.
arrested?
Has it really only been 3 years?
I thought that's what she said at the beginning because I remember us talking about it. And it was like 3 years is not a long time for an adult to like change how they look and like for the media to not suspect that she was.
But see, I thought he was
Garth's dad.
arrested when she was younger.
No, she
get
was
that.
in her 20s. Remember, it was after she had graduated college. Because she was like, I can't be a lawyer now because no one's going to hire me to be a lawyer when they know who my dad is.
Yeah. I guess just as I kept reading, it just felt like it had been
been a long
Further
time.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has this conversation with her dad, and she's like, I'm coming to see you. And then he's like, I want to say something. And she's like, no,
We're
off the
probably
phone.
being
Get off the
recorded.
phone.
We'll talk in person.
And he's just like, okay, like, whatever you say. My daughter's coming to my rescue.
Yeah. And I think as a dad, he was not that I'm a dad, but the way I'm thinking about it is he was probably so excited. Like, you haven't heard from your child in this long. The child's like, I'm going to come see you. You're like, yes, like, this is great. She got the postcard. She's going to come see me. Maybe we can rebuild our relationship. Like, I imagine that he's just being so positive. Or, maybe he thinks he's getting a passport and he's getting out of the country. I don't know.
But she had Walt record the conversation. So Walt recorded the conversation, and then he was like, this is your best shot if you want to keep the feds occupied and focused on the cabin. So I was like, what is the distraction
So
for?
I thought that they were going to try to like mislead the FBI
That's what I thought,
to
too.
get her dad out of the cabin.
Yep. I
Oh,
thought
like
they were
that
going to
was-
get him out, and then the cops were going to show up,
And
and
he'd
it
be
was
not
not going to
there.
be him.
Right. And all the way through,
Still thought that
I
was the plan.
still
Yes.
thought when they broke in
Yeah, and there was somebody in the shower.
that it was somebody else.
Yep, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, good, they got somebody there to play the part. This is fantastic. And they were like, oh, sorry, naked guy. Didn't mean to walk in on your shower.
Especially because he didn't fight. He didn't hesitate,
Yes.
nothing. I was just like,
Well,
oh,
the-
well,
so
he's
the
an
next
innocent guy.
the next chapter was when they were talking about like being in the port, getting ready for the cruise, and I was
Yeah.
like, so her dad's there already?
Yeah, because he talked about the long drive he had. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
So he got out of Lake Placid, made the big drive down. He's in what, Louisiana or whatever, waiting. And
And
I'm
I hope
like,
no Claire knows what she's doing. And I was like, what the heck is going on?
I thought it was her dad.
yes.
The entire time I
Yeah.
was reading it,
Even
I
after the name
pictured
came up, I
her
still
dad.
think it was her. Yeah.
Her
And I'm
dad.
like, oh, this older guy with this pretty young lady, like, this is totally normal. They're getting on the cruise. I was all in.
But now that I think about it, why would Megan be so comfortable
going with the
going
dad
with this old man?
who's running from the law.
Right. Well, obviously she didn't really have any idea who he was because she asked what his real name was, and he's just like, just call me Aaron. So this whole time, I'm still picturing
Yep.
her dad.
Me too. Even how they
None
said he
the
was
wiser.
dressed. Like the outfit they said, I could still picture like an older man in his 60s or whatever, dressed like that.
Yeah.
Charlie got me.
I was on board with Christopher, so
Like,
at
at
this
this
point,
point,
like
I
you
had
at
to
this
say.
point. Well, and I had two viewpoints. I was like once the passport was sent to Wisconsin, like I had that feeling it was Christopher. So then, like as I was reading these chapters, because they are so quick, I'm like, there's two things going on in my head. Like, could it be
But
this or
they
could it be that?
visited his
But-
grave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But it's believable. Like,
So I was looking for questions for the very end of this book for us.
oh no.
And I was on Goodreads, and it was just like people that are reading this book that had questions about it. I'm like, there's not going to be any spoilers because we're already towards the end. Like, I know that if I just read the first couple questions, it'll be something for me just to be able to go off of for us to talk about. And I saw the name Christopher, and I immediately closed out of the thing that I was reading, and I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, who's Christopher? Let me think back through this list of characters. And I was like, gosh darn it, it was her brother. And I was like, okay, I didn't read what they were talking about. Just read the name. I'm just going to finish the book. So then it was in my head every single time that I was reading.
Oh, no.
So I think that kind of ruined the book for me. But then I was like, God, Katie had this theory, like,
Practically from day one. She's like, oh, his brother.
from like
her
the
brother
very
isn't dead.
beginning. I think it was like the second time that we got together to discuss it. She had the theory that it was the brother, and we were all like, "What are you talking about, Katie?
Yeah.
they visited
He
the grave.
drowned. She went to his gravesite. Like, how could he still be alive?"
Sorry, Katie.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that we told you your theory was not correct.
We all did that
said
to
with all
everybody's
of them,
theories,
though. I
though.
know.
did.
Nobody thought Walt and Avery were going to get together. Nobody thought Victoria was still alive. Like, we all threw out things that seemed implausible, but then were totally legit.
So Megan is meeting with the person we think is just Aaron. We don't know at this point for who he is, right? In chapter 64. I thought it was funny when he was like, well, what do we do now? And she was like, how the hell am I supposed to know? I'm a goddamn interior decorator. I thought it was really funny. So Then we get into chapter 65, and they're at the cabin, right? They're getting, the FBI is getting in place.
Yep.
And he's
Because they're like surveillancing.
yeah, and he's
waiting.
basically telling them just to hold tight. They're on their way.
Yeah.
Nobody
Don't let
move.
anybody leave.
Yeah, don't let anybody leave. Don't go in. We'll be there. We're on our way right now. And that's why I felt like these chapters were so short, and they were going back and forth, and it just kept you like just so attached to the end of this book. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much happening, but it's all coming together.
Yeah. Oh, and wait, they did mention, because I highlighted their names.
Oh, yeah.
Mary Sullivan, this is my partner, James Martin. So man and woman did have names.
They did have names,
They
even though
just
it's
weren't
just
important.
very briefly mentioned.
Yes.
And they were just mentioned because the judge was giving the warrant, right?
Yeah.
Yes. At his house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they knocked on his door
Sunday.
on a Sunday.
This better be important.
Yes.
Like it is.
It is.
Garth Montgomery.
Very important. Well, then we get to chapter 66, right? And they're talking about getting on the boat. And there were only a few things his level of anxiety could relay. He was nervous about climbing onto a cruise ship for fear of it sinking.
I didn't even think about that.
No, until you just said it now.
Goosebumps.
Yes, for real. Oh my gosh.
But so even though I had read his name and I didn't read anything about him, I just read his name. But then, with Katie's theory, I was still like, why would he fake his death? Like, why
Right.
would he be like
we have
hiding
no
and
reason
running?
to think
Yes,
that
it
at
didn't
this
make any
point.
sense.
There was nothing that connected that up until now. And I was like, maybe what I read was just a theory. Maybe
Maybe
was,
these people are as crazy as Katie is. These Goodreads people.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Sorry, Katie. Because then it said, he was just uneasy because he was fleeing the country under an alias, and if caught, he was facing years in prison. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
That's her dad.
Yeah, it's got to
That's
be
her
her
dad.
dad. It's got to be
Exactly.
her dad. And he just had this plan to get on the boat and kind of
Sail off
be
into the sunset.
be invisible until. And then I was like, be invisible? Why would he want to be invisible on this boat? Like, how's he gonna get off the boat? Is he just gonna jump off this cruise ship?
I was
Like,
worried
Well,
about that too.
It was Natalie's husband's family that's how they did it for
I know, and I never
Victoria.
thought about how they got her out, how they were getting him out.
They
Like,
just wipe his name from the list of passengers. He hides for a few days. He gets off at a port.
Yeah.
And then she keeps being seen, and nobody's the wiser and thinks that
Right.
she's just there by himself.
because
Who's going to go asking questions?
For someone they haven't seen, because by him staying in the cabin so much of the day, it's like they see this woman out by herself. She's traveling alone, or she has a very an invalid, person who can't come out with her. So it was genius.
yeah, it was very well thought out. So
And the fact that when they scanned his passport and was like, okay, it's all good. It was almost like I could see it in if it was a movie. He just
Yes.
exhaled
Like,
oh, I got away with it.
yeah.
and you still thought at that
I
time,
still
that
thought it was her dad.
Yes, me too.
But then
I'm glad somebody got
Yeah.
it with me.
So you didn't think anything was weird in chapter 67 when they said that they were getting ready to go into the cabin, and each of them, per the terms of Claire Montgomery, had negotiated that made this raid possible, had been fitted with body cameras and microphones that would capture every move and every word. You didn't think
I did think that was for her, and I thought it was because she wanted to make a story on it or something, just like she was making a story on Victoria, but I still thought it was going to be a fake person. Then it was actually going to make the cops feel like idiots. They went and got all this.
She tried to help catch her dad.
Yeah. Because it gets her off the hook because
Yeah,
then
I
she
guess.
wasn't actually involved in getting him out because she was working with the FBI.
That's what I thought the whole time.
Yep.
The whole friggin' time.
Yep.
gosh, were we wrong?
Yeah. So he just stays in the cabin and he's going to disappear from the register of passengers.
We'll just get off at a port
Yep.
and just be gone.
And then in chapter 69, we are breaking into the A-frame cabin to try to catch
To get the
quote, unquote,
imposter.
right, to get the
And
the
that wasn't even
stand-in.
a full 2 pages. And I was like, oh my God. Because they couldn't find him because he was in the bathroom showering.
Yeah.
And who was in the shower?
And I just pictured this innocent naked
Yes,
man
that's
being
what I thought.
They still didn't tell us in this chapter who was in the shower. They just said that there was water
yeah.
Yep. Because he has
going
to
in
go
the bathroom.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, now let's go on to the next chapter, which is literally a page long. If you look at this, it's half a page and half a page. And I'm like, this is a page long chapter.
And it still doesn't clarify
Yeah, I have
who is
no
who.
notes from that chapter at all
No,
because
I don't
there
either.
wasn't anything there.
They just were talking about Aaron and Megan.
She asked him what his name was before, and he's like, just call me
Just
Aaron.
call me Aaron. And then chapter 71, they finally say who was in the shower.
Yeah, but then I put a note. I'm like, wait, so he's not Aaron Holland on a boat with Megan Cobb?
Yeah.
Like,
And
Who's on the cruise?
because even reading this, I still thought
There was an imposter.
that it was an imposter.
yes. They hired some actor to just be there. Heck, maybe it's Andre. I don't know. Like, I didn't care who it was. I just knew it wasn't going to be her dad.
I was just kind of like, oh, wow, he just came and threw her under the bus and was like, first, you're under arrest. Second, your daughter is the reason we found
I
you.
highlighted that line.
Yeah, I was like,
Yes.
dang, was that what she wanted him to be told?
I
Or
don't-
did he
My
just
guess
say,
is probably at this point, yeah, I think that's what she wanted.
yeah.
Yeah, because he like ruined her life. So,
So she
she wants
was-
to take the power back.
Well, so then we have lots of questions, I guess, because you're like, oh, was it really Garth or was it not Garth? And who was in the shower and
Right.
who's on the boat?
Because
So-
even the start of the next chapter, when they're talking about the plan, he's going to plunge in with Taurus. I'm like, wait, Walt? Is it Walt? Like, now I'm trying to figure out who is the guy on the boat if it's not Garth. Because I still never once thought about it being Christopher. I was
I
just
didn't
like,
either.
Because at this point in the book, it's really all about the other characters, and we don't have a lot of Walt and Avery or Claire or,
right.
you know, we don't have
Yes.
them in
so
the
I thought we were just
storyline at
following
this
her
point.
dad around in Mexico,
Right.
Jamaica.
So then I thought maybe it was Walt because, oh, maybe Walt's going to get in trouble for helping Avery do whatever Avery did. So now they're trying to get Walt out so he doesn't get in trouble. Like, I don't
There's
know.
just too many loose ends right now for us to figure out really what
Yes.
was going on. So whoever this Aaron guy is in Jamaica at this point, and he's been picked up by, I don't even know if they end
Someone
up
in
saying.
a Jeep. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I don't think they tell until, nope, they
Yeah, I
don't
don't
say
think
anything
in
about
this
this
chapter.
one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's just supposed to take him to Jerome.
Yep.
Yes.
Jerome. That was a terrible accent. Sorry, guys. So yeah, Jerome is how it says.
Oh yeah, he does say it like that.
So he's just supposed to take the Land Cruiser back, and he's like, Walt will get it back for me.
Yes.
Go feed his dog. His name's Bureau.
I know. I love
And I was
Bureau.
like, okay, so her dad is
Yep.
going to stay at Walt's house and take care of the dog. Is this where he's going to hide out? Because if they question that Avery did
Yeah.
try to get her dad out, then
Right.
why would they send him?
Yeah, Walt's place doesn't seem very safe because Walt was
No.
involved with
So
all of
that's
this.
when I really started to question, like, what's going on here?
Who
because
is this?
But it all
seems
came together at the
weird.
end of this chapter.
It did.
just told us everything. Like it was just like a bomb was dropped. So for me, I mean, my physical book, it's on page 385, and it tells us that Katie's theory is correct. Katie, do you have any of that highlighted in your on 385?
Katie doesn't write in her book.
I know. Oh yeah, that's right. Katie just has
I have
notes.
it on my, I just have it just on my iPad. But no, you go ahead and you read that exact line because I know it.
Christopher Montgomery was pulling away from his old life.
Did
And
anybody get chills at this point?
I was like,
I was
Oh my-
confused.
I was like,
as
who's
all can be.
Christopher?
Well, I knew from the last name. I was like, wait,
that's
Yeah.
the brother.
wait.
Right.
But it still didn't make sense to me.
Right. Because he was still dead.
Like, what do you
in my
mean?
head.
He's dead. He's drowned in the ocean, dead.
But he wasn't.
But keep going because there's another
Yeah.
important line at the
So it's
end
from
of
the
that.
stress
Sorry.
of spending years in hiding, he was pulling away from the role he unknowingly played as a portfolio manager at his father's hedge
And that's when
fund.
it got me. I was like, wait,
Yes.
his father. Because even when I said, I'm like, his father, but her dad was the hedge fund. What? And then,
He worked
he
for.
worked for him.
yeah.
Yeah, so we never knew that at the beginning of
No,
the book. We
but
just
it
thought
makes sense. The
her and her
more-
brother were
yeah.
good friends, and they went out on a sail on a day they shouldn't have been sailing, and he died, and she didn't.
And then finding
And then at
out
this
like,
point,
why
they
they
don't.
went out,
Yeah.
I was like, she seriously risked her
I
life.
wrote that down. He put her life at risk. How many times though?
But see,
did he put?
I didn't put it as he put her life at risk. I put it as she willingly risked her life.
Yeah.
Because he may have asked her, but that's her brother, and she clearly would hands down, obviously, do
Yeah.
anything for him.
And she's doing it again this time, too.
Yeah,
because she could. I mean, technically, she could get in trouble for this.
a lot of that. Yeah, she faked a death, isn't
But
that?
they're not worried about
That
the
and the
brother.
passport
They're
now.
only
And the
worried
passport.
about their dad,
Yep.
the FBI.
And that's
Yeah.
like her true family.
Yeah, that's all
brother.
that she really has left.
Yes, because obviously she's not. We know she's not associating with her father.
So this also ropes around and makes us realize that she knew what her dad had done before he got arrested.
Yeah, because her brother had told her.
Because this
Yep.
was before a year. They
Yeah.
said a year before he was arrested,
He found out, and
and he told her, and she just went along with her life and had to act like her brother was dead, and her dad at any minute was going to be, you
Yep.
know, taken away from her. Which
It
she
shows
probably at that
Avery's
point could
life
have
was
cared
even
less.
harder, I think, than what we thought
Yeah.
before. Because there was so much she was keeping in, so much she knew, so much she was trying to handle that.
I just couldn't believe that, like, his plan was to let the boat capsize during a storm, and he was just going to leave her there. And, like, that is insane to me that she was like, all right, I love you this much, and I'm going to do this for you. Because, God, that would be scary, like so scary for her, but also for him, like waiting to see if she survived that. And then can you imagine the guilt he would have felt that she would have died?
My first thought, though, was like, was the intention for it to capsize or just
just
be
to be
out in the storm,
rescued?
and
I
then
think
she
it
can
was
play
more
it
that.
off like
Yeah, I guess I didn't think
he
of it
fell
like
off
that.
the boat trying to like tie the sail,
Yeah.
or you know, maybe he didn't actually want her to like
Her
get
to be in
hurt
danger,
or be in
right.
danger. They just wanted it to. They needed her to be in a dangerous situation, so it was believable that something happened to him. I don't
Right.
think he necessarily like
Meant
wanted
for
the
it
boat
do
to
that.
capsize.
Yeah, I think it got out of
Yeah.
hand
Maybe you're right.
because of the storm and how bad it got. I agree with Erica. I don't think that was the initial intention of it.
I guess I didn't. I was thinking too much into that, I guess. Like, I have this whole book. This book has really made me like, oh my gosh, what's going
You know,
on?
you don't
What's
trust
going to happen
anything
now?
anymore, right?
Yeah.
Now there's a boat coming from Wisconsin all the way to Jamaica.
Yes.
Could that
That's
for
a
real?
long fucking
Could
boat
that
ride.
for real happen? Like,
Don't-
can they make a boat like that? Make it that far?
I mean, there's
mean,
people
there's
that sail
connecting.
around the world.
I just feel. Well, they said that the boat had some issues too when it finally docked in Jamaica, right? They had. I know. I was kind of
They
like,
had a list.
what is like what's going to happen now? Like, why is Walt accepting a boat? Like, and then I was like, well, I guess Christopher was an avid sailor.
See, my thought
so-
was maybe like him and Avery were
That's
gonna run away because they just tricked the FBI.
yeah.
Well, and at this point, we don't know about Avery making an agreement for American events.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we don't. There's still like a lot going on with just her brother getting settled, and Walt came back to Jamaica and got the boat, and some time had passed during all of this.
Yes.
I didn't pay as much attention to the dates as I probably should have.
So,
either.
like, we went from July to October.
Yeah, say it was several months. And then there was one comment, and I don't know if it's in this chapter or the next one, but it's around the area, so it works. So we're talking about all this stuff. Okay, we know it's Christopher now. They're in Jamaica. I finally make a note, and I'm like, did we just stop caring about Victoria? Was that a whole ruse to distract the entire story? Like, I'm real stuck.
Are
I'm
we
like,
coming back to that?
yes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, what is happening? Wait a minute.
Well, there was like 4 stories in one in this
Yes.
book, and I think that's why it made it such a good like suspenseful novel, because it wasn't just one focus on one thing that had happened. There was just a lot, and it's hard to bring that all back together at the end, and I think he really did a good job
Yeah.
closing up all of the missing links that we had, except for Jasper.
I know. Where's Jasper?
Yeah. So there was just some kind of fillers in those little chapters about getting settled and getting the boat to Jamaica from Wisconsin. Did you guys have anything in those little chapters, like chapter 75,
So
76?
that 75, that was the first time she actually got to see Christopher,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet that was very, very wonderful for her.
Yeah, so I'm assuming she hasn't seen him at all since he faked his death, right? Is that?
Right. And did Connie know he was staying there?
She had
Connie
to.
had
She
know,
had
right?
to,
Okay.
right?
And maybe
Because-
that's why she
Oh, yeah.
always went there.
That's
So-
why she was giving Connie money, if she was giving Connie money.
Well,
so it
no,
does
but
say that
she's gone
he was
there.
working. I don't have it.
Yeah,
highlighted.
he was working as an instructor. So
Right.
my thought is if she goes there every year
Right.
on her way
Wasn't
to
she
New York.
seeing
But
him
she
there?
wasn't going there. Remember? Because she would fly
She would
every
fly.
year.
This is the
right.
first
She
year
was
she
there
she
this
drove.
time.
Oh,
Do you think
Yeah.
she saw him this time when she was there
I don't know.
and like told him what the plan was going to be? Do you think he knew? Did Connie know? Or did
well,
Connie
I
just
mean,
get the
she
pa-
kind of just threw it together.
Yeah.
But he did say, when we thought it was her dad, he did say that they had been planning this way for so long. And then all of a sudden, Claire changed the plans. And he had to just go with it.
Yeah.
That's what Christopher said.
Yeah. It was like I think it was in one of the chapters where he's in New Orleans,
Oh,
where he's like sitting
Like
waiting.
he has to
Waiting
trust
for the-
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he just had to trust whatever she was putting
Yeah.
together. Yeah, I guess. So I don't think she had seen him since he had faked his death. Did you like the name of the boat? That he named the boat.
Have we gotten there yet?
Oh, I was skipping ahead.
Oh. I mean,
Um,
really, 76 is just kind of talking about like,
It was a flashback.
yeah, the flashback with
like
Christopher
what
when he
had
was
happened.
working with his dad.
Yeah,
and
his
like,
story about
why
why.
he thought he was guilty. And
Yep. I liked how he was talking about how, like Claire was really good at whatever. And he goes, but there was one thing Christopher beat her at, math. And that's where like all the numbers came and everything. I just thought it was a cute way to put it. But that's also when I said, did we stop caring about Victoria?
And then
Where's
at the
Victoria?
very end, he said he had planned to hide at Connie's for a couple of weeks. He never imagined it would take 3 years to leave Cabin 12 and the sailing camp. So he was there for 3 years.
In hiding.
And it's just crazy, I guess, because he had faked his death, and he even said, like, I guess we
Nobody
skipped
comes
over that,
looking
like
for you when they think you're dead.
That's true.
when he died before that whole thing was uncovered, like they didn't suspect him anymore because they thought
Right,
he was,
he was
dead.
dead.
Yeah, so
and
nobody.
that was the smart thing about going before. So he was smart.
yeah,
Yeah. Because nobody even knew that he knew about all the books and everything
yeah.
that he
They just
done
thought
with
that
the
he had
numbers.
died in a tragic accident.
But yes, I did notice the boat name Clairvoyance too.
Too.
Yeah.
Because he said his biggest regret was making Claire sacrifice the Oyster 625 to risk her life for him, and the money that Connie Clarkson had given his father for safekeeping.
Well, then it also goes on to talk about Avery's deal with American Events and the story.
Yep.
And then that she's got $3 million a year for 5 years to work as the host of American Events. And she got a signing bonus of $3 million and did 2 things with this bonus. First, she opened an account at a bank and trust on the Grand Cayman Islands in the name of Aaron Holland. And then the second thing Avery did was pay for the sailboat. So that she technically did more than 2 things.
She did
with
more
that.
than 2.
Because then we get a chapter, the very next chapter, where a UPS truck delivers a letter to Connie. And didn't we all just say how wonderful it would be
Yes.
if Connie got her
money
$2
back?
million
Yeah.
back?
I wrote that. I said it was made out for $2 million. I said I knew it, and I was so happy about that because how many times we've been saying, why is Avery making such a big deal about the money? Why is she trying to get so much money? And then all of a sudden, she did give it to Connie. She's got money for Christopher. Like she was taking care of everybody in her life, so it wasn't her just being this egotistical woman who's like, I deserve all this money. There was a greater good that came from it, and I loved that part.
Yeah, I thought it was really a good closing for Connie that she got her money back. So.
She did still think she deserved more money,
Yeah.
but she got enough to do what she needed to.
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Well, and in chapter 77, that's when we found out that she aired the
episode of her dad.
episode of Victoria, which was her
Oh,
second. It was a 3-part episode, and it was her second highest ratings. But then we found out she did a 3-part series or episode on her father,
Which is
was
why
her,
she needed the camera
yes,
body
footage.
camera.
the
and the
thief of
microphones.
Manhattan. So, did anybody else like at the very end highlight or notate the conversation between Walt and Avery?
Where was that at?
The very, very end.
Oh.
In the
Page
epilogue?
405. No, like of 70 on chapter 77.
Oh, okay.
And it was Walt saying, I was thinking about spending some more time in the States.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And
They
she's
were
like,
clearly going to be together.
That's when
Yes.
you knew. Because then she responded with, I thought you hated New York. And he says, I do. I was thinking about I was thinking California is more my style.
Yes.
So it wasn't like, oh, bells and weddings, but it was
Yes.
still, they were clearly going to end up
We
together.
want to pursue this. Like, let's see where it goes.
So that proved Kristen's theory.
yeah,
of
They
them
fell in love.
falling
And it
in
was
love.
a romance, you guys.
There was a
It
romance
was very
buried in there.
mixed genre. reading.
Yeah.
So I had wrote down here, like at the end of chapter 78, I was like, everything's tying up really nicely, but
But
who
Victoria.
killed Cameron?
Right. Oh, yeah.
What
that part
happened
too.
to
Yes.
Victoria?
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So in the next two chapters, did you guys get very weirded out by how Victoria was acting towards
yes.
Natalie?
gosh.
Yes.
Like, no,
Natalie
I
even
want to
said
do
like
this.
there was a change in her writing, there's a change in her behavior.
But why all of a sudden
I know. Like, did it have to do something
with the episode?
I thought it was
that
because-
I
aired,
assumed it was the
or-
episode
Yeah.
that aired.
I thought it was because her name was finally cleared, and they were like, well, obviously she didn't do it. Look at all this evidence against her.
Well, since, nobody was who they said they were anymore at this point, I'd written down and said, Victoria refused to listen. She simply came back with darker ideas still. I said, maybe it's not Victoria.
Maybe
So that was
Victoria's
like,
not Victoria.
Maybe somebody's acting like they're
Maybe
Victoria.
there's another character that's going to get introduced in the last 10
in
pages.
chapter 79.
And then, of course, in chapter 80, everybody's happy. Walt's going back and forth. Avery's going back and forth.
Wait, but did we talk about wrap up the Victoria part that actually she did do it and she framed her?
That's
sorry.
in the epilogue.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, Claire's reading, or Avery is reading,
Her
her
newest
newest
book
book.
in chapter 80.
Yep.
and she's like, I'll be up to, which makes me laugh because this is me. Like, Jared's like, I'm going to go to bed. And I'm like, I'm just going to read one more chapter. I'm just going to read one more chapter. And
Yep.
she said, I'm just going to stay up and read a little bit longer.
So her mind's spinning, and she's like, what? Like, why does this sound so familiar? And then she closed her book and realized that the book title was A Perfect Murder,
Yeah,
a Peg
said-
Perugo novel.
She said, not
Yep.
even Peg Perugo would suspect that the killer planted her own blood at the
Yep.
crime scene to lead detectives in the wrong direction. And I was like, oh,
So
My
Avery's
God.
thinking right here, I guarantee you that I just spent all this time trying to help convince the world that she's innocent.
Yes.
And in this epilogue, we get a very detailed.
Yes.
So I have a question before we get to the epilogue. Do you guys read the epilogue of every book?
yes.
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 Do you?
No.
Oh, I always
Not
do.
every book.
Did you read this one?
Well, of course. Now I need to go back because what have I missed in all my
can't
other
believe
books?
you don't read
Why
the
wouldn't you
epilogue.
read it? I don't know. I'm like, oh, it's in the other chapter. Oh,
Well,
finished this
I
book.
will
I don't
admit
know.
that a lot of times the epilogue, especially in like a romance,
Yeah.
they get married.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
But in something like this, you have to read it.
Yeah, no.
Right.
So if you haven't read the epilogue in this book, if
Go
you're
back.
a non-epilogue reader,
Stop.
stop listening
Stop what
right
you're
now
doing and go read the epilogue.
last
Yes,
4
maybe read it
pages.
twice.
Yeah, maybe read it twice.
Or we could just read it for them. So we get all the details about how she's, she planted that camera. She wanted it to make it seem like they
Yes.
didn't know they were being filmed. She got rougher. She got him to the edge and
And
then
didn't let him
stopped
finish.
and then strangled him to death.
Yep.
And she had the flash drive and planted that
Yep.
flash drive.
So
And
she-
she
yeah, so
dragged the
she was
body.
trying-
She
She
planted
did.
everything.
She was
the
trying
urine,
to get
the blood.
to make it look like his
Tessa.
wife.
Yes.
Tessa
She framed
her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
So-
I assumed
And it
I did not get that
backfired.
right.
It backfired on her
Right.
Yeah, because she
because of
said
the DA.
the DA she didn't expect the DA to just skim over all of this planted evidence, and she was going to end up going to jail.
I
did not see that.
shocked.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My
because
mouth,
this
my
whole
jaw was
story
like, oh, to the
was
floor.
trying to prove her innocence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we
And
all
we
said
believed it.
Yes.
Like,
She
there's no
didn't
way
do it.
Victoria
She
would do
didn't
it.
do
It was
it.
Jasper.
Where is
Jasper?
Jasper, Charlie?
Yeah. We want to know what happened. Did she kill Jasper too before the end of this book, and we just don't
Good
know
point.
about
Before she
it?
went to Greece.
Yeah.
I
Before she killed Cameron.
was so shocked.
Yeah. I did not see it. I did not see Victoria being
No.
the murderer.
So Katie predicted the big plot twist at the end with Christopher, and none of us saw that Victoria was guilty.
No.
I would say that makes for a very wonderful book.
Yeah.
Great discussion. What did you guys rate the book?
I think I rated it at a 4.
I gave it 4.
I gave it
Yeah.
4 stars also.
I did 4.5.
And the only reason I think I'm taking some of the star away is because where is Jasper? There are a few tiny, and I think there was one other one we talked about briefly, but I've already done and forgot about it, so clearly it's not that important. That like little ends that did not get tied up. But overall, I think this author did such a phenomenal job of taking all those little puzzle pieces and making sure that every one of them got fit into the big picture. Everything got closed and left us.
That's what I was going to say, how everything really intertwined. Like even Megan Cobb coming back and being such a pivotal character.
They couldn't have done it
and-
without her.
Yeah, so the beginning of the book when you're all like, who are all these people? Why do I need to know all this information? And to see how they were all in each other's lives, and it was phenomenal.
I absolutely will read more from this author.
That's what I was
That's
just
what
gonna
I
ask.
just
actually
said, my
already
final
bought one,
thoughts.
and it came
Did
in the
you?
mail the other day. I
Yeah.
did.
Which one did you buy?
Oh, I forget what it's called.
Is
It's
it the
got-
one at the very end here? Hold on.
No, it is not
Okay.
that one. The one I got has like leaves all over it.
Did you guys know that this book is being picked up to be made into a TV show?
No.
Yeah.
On what network?
I
you
don't
know?
remember
Oh,
what
okay.
I read it on, but I saw the Charlie Donley had posted something about it, and I clicked on it, and they're making it
cool.
into
Like
a
a
TV
limited
show.
series or
I think it's
something?
gonna be good as a TV show rather than
Yes.
just because there's so many parts to it. I think it'll be
Yes.
depending on who picks it up.
Well, I
Right.
think it was phenomenal, and I can't wait to read more by him.
So would you recommend this book to somebody else?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I would give them the disclaimer. Like when you
Yes.
start reading it, get at least to chapter 15 before you make any
That's
rash
what I have told
decisions.
everybody. I was like, we read this in 4 parts, but and the first part was it wasn't even slow. It was just
No.
that it was
It's a lot.
information overload, and sometimes that turns people off because some people just read to just get lost in a book and just kind of relax and
Not
whatever,
to have to
not to have to
overthink
think
and be
about
cute-
everything.
confused.
Yeah,
This is a different kind of loss.
This is
in
a
this book.
thinking book. You have to be thinking during your reading with this
Well, you
book,
don't
but
have to, because for me, like, I just read and went along for the ride.
I don't know,
I didn't really like. I mean, I
think
thought about it because we were discussing
discussing
it.
Yeah,
But if I had read this without any kind of
discussion point.
and you would have told me like, hey, at least make it to chapter 15, I would have kept reading, but I probably wouldn't have thought any of the things that I thought about, knowing that I was going to have to discuss it. So I probably looked into it a little further than I would have.
Well, and at the end of the first episode, I said I'd probably put this book down just because there were so many characters, so many places and pinpoints that I wouldn't have wrote down the characters. Like I would have put the book down just because there was so much going on,
And I'm
that
sure
I wouldn't have been able to keep things track. But
I'm sure a lot of people probably would have put it down, because I feel like we had a couple people at work say that they were reading it, and I feel like a couple of them all said the same thing, like there's just so much at the beginning.
Yes.
Literally every single person that I have spoken to about this book has been like, wow, it started
same
off
here.
and it did not grasp me as a book that I wanted to just keep reading. I was ready to put it down, but I wanted to be a part of your discussion, and I wanted to see if it was going to turn out, and it turned out. He did a great job bringing it all together, and I think it ended up being a really good discussion book. And just I like the fact that we all 4 had theories that came true,
Yes.
but none of us saw the end coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love a book like that.
And that's what I'd be interested to ask Charlie. Like, how do you write your books? How do you outline it? How do you plan? Do you know what every character's doing the whole time? Like, did you start with the end? Did you know Victoria was guilty the whole time and you wrote the book that? Like, I would just be so interested
Kind of pick
in
his brain.
Yes.
Where did you start at for this book?
Yes.
And did it involve 4 different
Yeah.
stories
Did
in
you
one?
have all these characters, or did they just keep showing up as you were writing?
Or do you have ADHD and you're like, let's bring this in, let's bring that in, let's do this.
Yeah, I'd be interested in
So,
that.
ladies, do you think it's safe to say that Kayla has redeemed herself as book picker?
I would, yes.
Thank you guys.
I wasn't around during that time.
Yeah, well,
You can
You-
still read
you-
the book.
you
There's
did.
probably
I'm
still a
okay.
copy.
I'm
yeah.
sure didn't miss
They still have
anything. We
copies.
won't talk about the name of the book, and we will just leave it at that. That Kayla made a mistake, and she apologized profusely and will apologize till the day she dies. That she picked a terrible book.
Can wipe your bad
Yes.
pick clean.
Thank you guys.
We will never speak of it again.
Thank you. I
In my
appreciate it.
final thought process, I put, Kayla, great book choice. Well, I should say, Kayla, great book choice. And then I said, you chose a book that started off the podcast with a bang. And you now have now you have set the bar high for all of us.
Aww.
So,
I know. Don't you
No
guys worry that
disappointment
some of
in
your
that.
books picks
Book
are not going to
two,
be
yeah.
as good?
Good luck, guys.
Dang it. Wait.
Katie's actually next.
So she's
Yep.
she's the one that's got to follow the first one. That's like the most intimidating spot.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
number
Picking them.
2.
I don't know that one will. It's a completely different kind of book though. So
But
I don't think it's
that's
gonna
I
be
good.
think
as
I think
people are
that's
going to
good.
like that.
Yeah.
They're going to like the fact
Yeah.
that we don't stick with the same genre, because there might be listeners who only read this.
yes.
And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to listen if you guys are only going to read
Yeah.
thrillers or
Romance.
Yeah. So if you
romance.
don't like thrillers, then, or, mysteries or whatever you would consider this genre of book, just know
we
that
plan on having lots
we
of
plan
other
on having
genres.
lots of genres, and we'll see how it goes from there. So
But this book truly had so many genres.
it really
in
did. It did.
It
have,
really did.
It did have multiple points to it. So I think it fit a lot of people's likes.
I
So
think that I agree. It had Kristen's romance in it.
It did. They lived happily ever after in
Yes.
California and sometimes Jamaica.
So hope you
All
guys
right.
loved it. I hope you all followed along. If you have questions that you want to discuss with us, there'll be a social media post up on Instagram and Facebook. So we hope that you send us your questions and your thoughts and what you liked about the book, what you didn't. And we'll be back next week. So bye.
Bye.